Today I will be assessing the rating of all the original 42 cards in Clash Royale. Clash Royale and the team at Supercell has done many things to try to fix these cards and make them balanced, like reworking the Goblin Hut or giving overall evolutions to most of them. So I'll be ranking the evolution versions of these cards instead of the regular ones. There we go. Now I will be ranking them all. Skeletons are probably one of the best OG42 cards in A tier. I don't think they're nerfable, but I feel like they have made them in a healthy position. I just feel that they have made all the cycle cards in the game more overpowered than more of the regular cards that are support troops. Also used to be very broken, so I'm glad that they put them down to a lower level. Bomber would be next. It's actually in C tier. The Evolved Bomber kind of had a very big fall off, and it was attainable for free recently in Clash Royale, so it's not really that rare anymore. It is a good evolution in certain decks, but it wasn't as powerful. It can't double bounce anymore. It's another one of those cards that isn't as powerful. Goblins are also going to go in C tier, not really seen as much. It is seen in some minor cycle decks, but ever since they added that fourth goblin and then all the deploy time changes for the goblins, they haven't been overpowered in the meta. Spear goblins are also like them. They're very weak and sustainable to spells overall. They don't really need any more troops into the count of it's just 2 elixir. Spear goblins place in the meta does change a little bit every meta, but it's not really that weak in the meta. It's not really that strong. So I don't think that goblins or spear goblins would need evolution. Zap is actually a very good state right now. It's an A tier, basically a lot of beatdown decks. I'm glad that they gave it an evolution because it was probably one of the spells that were struggling the most. It could basically only kill spear goblins and less, like the snowball. With the evolved Zap, it made it so it was a lot better on offense over defense because it takes 2 stuns, right? So it like stuns an eye tower and then it like makes it better at what it does. Evolved Knight's going in B tier, one of those mini tanks, and overall the Knight does have a good place in the meta. It is working in bait decks, it's working as a tank in graveyard. Overall, it's healthy. Doesn't need any changes, balanced. Archers are also going to B tier because of overall Expo. Expo has been back in the meta recently due to a secret damage buff, and Evil Archers are very good in the meta right now. It's not really broken. One of these cards that don't need any reworks or are overpowered. Minions are also going in C tier, like the goblins. Don't need a rework, don't need any evolution. They're just good in the stay in the meta. It dies to arrows, but it's 3 elixirs, so it's an equal elixir trade. It doesn't like die to any smaller spells, so it doesn't make it very weak. So it's good at defense. It's not really good at offense, but it's good at what it does. Arrows are in S tier. They need to nerf the arrows. They already did, but it's so used in the meta. If we look at Royale API, it's literally 28% in Ultimate Champion. Needs a nerf or a nerf to all the cards that it kills, like per se Evo Archers in this list or just Firecracker on like a normal basis. Evo Cannon is also probably going to go in S tier. Like the cannon was already in a good state. The regular cannon was very good in cycle decks. It's probably one of the best buildings in the game. Overall, I don't think they needed to give the cannon evolution. It didn't need one in the first place. It probably would have been B tier or C tier without it. And it's very healthy. So evolution, not necessary. But the Tesla, on the other hand, is in B tier. And I'm glad that they gave it evolution. They have nerfed it and gave it buffs recently. Like, it used to be very overpowered when it was launched. It started to fall off in the meta, and then they gave it a death shockwave, got it back in the meta, removed the shockwave, gave it a damage buff, and now it's healthy in the meta again with Expo. It's not really bad, it's not really good. The evolution was worth it because without it, it really was very bad. It didn't have a place in the meta as a building. You should have used like other buildings like the cannon and S tier. So having the Tesla in the meta now, it makes it more diverse. It makes it just overall healthier for the game. Evil Mortar is also going in B tier. Mortar decks are good, but it's hard to get a connection to the tower. The evolution was also good for the Mortar as it was more of a balanced evolution, and it didn't really change the play style of the Mortar per se. Some other evolutions changed the play style, right? the evil Mega Knight changed the playstyle as an example. But Mortar, it just gave you a goblin and gave you a little bit more offensive pressure, but it didn't really change the interactions of the card. I forgot Barbarian's evolution. What am I doing? Barbarian's evolution is also going to be one of those evos that I put in C tier, B tier, B tier, because it's very good as a ground troop, and it like dies. It doesn't die to fireball. People would say that's a hard counter, but it's not an efficient counter, right? Like Witch or just a simple splash card like Bowler. It doesn't change the interaction of Barbarians. Also made it so Barbarians were more healthy in the meta. It's seen in Lava Hound decks. It's also seen in Bridge Spam a little bit, like recently due to the Boss Bandit, but overall the evolved Barbarians are good. They gave it some buffs and nerfs along the way, but overall I'm just glad in the state. Just a lot of these evos are in B tier. Minion Horde, F tier. What do I say? Like for the original 42, it's just that it's so sustainable. The arrows and cannon and Evo Zap and all these cards in S tier. It's just that it doesn't really have a place in the meta. It needs to find a way into the meta. It doesn't work in arrows bait because you lose 2 elixir for having it in your deck. It doesn't work in cycle decks because it literally is 5 elixir. So it's hard to fit it in. I feel like a rework they could give to it, remove it from the game, king, but rework, maybe put a Mega Minion in there and like take away like 2 minions. So it's like a Mega Minion, 3 and 4 minions. So it's 5 elixir and it's less sustainable to spells. Also, they can make an evolution. It's basically like that, or they just like do something like that. I feel like that's a pretty cool and interesting idea. Tombstone for our first building is going in D tier prior to my original ranking. I just don't think it's as healthy in the game anymore. Oh wait, Evil Witch, but it rarely works anymore as a spawner building. It is like one of those buildings that you don't really think about. It's more of a defensive building like the Goblin Hut. I think actually it might be a C tier card, but overall, like spawner buildings are harder to work into the meta because slowly spawning, as they said recently when they reworked the Goblin Hut. But overall, the Tombstone isn't in a bad place, so I think they should tweak it a little bit to where it's like the Goblin Hut, like the new Goblin Hut, so where it like gives more off, like more of a counter push per se. I'm just going to rank the Goblin Hut now because I'm talking about it, but Goblin Hut's in B tier because they like reworked it in the best way possible. I'm just so surprised that they reworked it and then made it good and not annoying in the meta. They made it so it doesn't passively spawn, but reactively. So per se, Electro Giant comes your way, and then you place the Goblin Hut down, it spawns more and more and more Spear Goblins. They kill the Electro Giant or the regular Giant or the Goblin Giant. If you just place a Goblin Hut down, it does nothing. That may sound bad, but it's good because it like relies on troops being on your side, and then you can get a counter push that leads to strategy instead of just spamming buildings on your side. That's why Tombstone is not that great, even though it's cheap and it does very little. I feel like they should make it a little bit more like the Goblin Hut, which is surprising to say. Now I go on to the mini P.E.K.K.A. Is very like good HP, good stats, right? It does a lot of damage, but it very sustainable to swarms like guards or Goblin Gang, which are like 2 of the highest like cards in the meta. It can even die to skeletons on the opponent's side of the arena. So it's not really that good. I might put it in D tier overall in between all the cards, right? In between all the cards in the original 42. I feel like the mini P.E.K.K.A could use an evolution, but it's just that if you make it less sustainable to swarms, it kind of defeats the regular counter it had, right? So fix the mini P.E.K.K.A, either make it so it's better at killing tanks or it's less sustainable to swarms. Which, yeah, it's a hard place to balance it because you make it kill stuff faster, but then it makes it a little bit more annoying. And then it makes it so the P.E.K.K.A isn't as usable because the P.E.K.K.A is way much more elixir, right? 3 more elixir. It's just a challenging way to balance. So that's why it's probably less used than the regular P.E.K.K.A. And then Musketeer, I'm putting it in B tier as all the other evolutions up here, but It was one of the cards when I first saw it. Like, I wasn't that good of a player, and then I thought it wasn't really necessary for evolution because Musketeer was used in 2.6, but that's a classics deck, right? So people don't really use Musketeer out of 2.6 that much beforehand, but then it gave sniper bullets, so now it's used in like Balloon Cycle. Pretty nice for the card. Gave it a nice boost. Hog Riders, B tier is just getting crowded, but Hog Rider is getting in B tier because it is counterable. I think a little HP nerf might be justified if it becomes too prevalent in the meta, but it is not. So it is counterable. It is 4 elixir. It works in cycle decks, but it's very hard to like get past if you have a cannon. Cannon's an S here, so Hog Rider isn't that good. But if you, per se, have a Hog Rider in an arena that is lower and mid ladder, it is very hard to counter. So, to fix the game, either you bring the Hog Rider up in the arenas so it is in a place where it doesn't like. You bring the Hog Rider up to like arena 12, right? And then move like a lower skilled card to arena like 3 or 4, wherever it is. Then it will fix the Hog Rider as people won't complain at it as much anymore. Then Evo Valkyrie, putting in A tier. I looked Royal API, and I see Evo Valkyrie at 13%. 13% for Evo Valkyrie is actually insane because it's first troop card after the top 10 guards, skeletons, and goblin gang. That's weird. That's just weird. Overall, it's very good in the meta. It has a place, right? It's over the night. It can pull stuff in. It gave it a place in the meta at the current state because when Evo Valkyrie was released, the Evo Knight was kind of destroying it as a mini tank, and that's why the mini P.E.K.K.A. isn't that good. You have like this trifecta of where it's like Knight, Evo Valkyrie, mini P.E.K.K.A. And it's like the Evo Valkyrie and the Knight both have evolutions, so it's over the mini P.E.K.K.A. states and what it has as a mini tank. Fireball is probably going S tier. Changed my mind on Fireball from my last ranking, but overall, Fireball is just one of the cards that like holds the meta together as a spell. Like you have, I'm just gonna move Evo Zap up here too. Zap, Fireball, Arrows, Lightning, all these spells, right? I'm just gonna like talk about the good spells right now. Lightning, Rocket, Lightning in S tier, Rocket in A tier. Like we have all these spells up here because they control certain troops, right? The interactions. Lightning kills Hunter, Fisherman, right? You get those combos in RG, and then you can just full on counter. It kills Electro Dragon in the meta. Fireball kills Barbarians without the evolution, or Magic Archer. You have arrows that kill Firecracker and Minion Horde, and we have Rocket that like does a crap ton of damage. Makes it usable with Tornado, which you can pull all the stuff in, right? Spells control our meta in a way so where that certain cards are not viable. As a certain way to put it, if they made a certain ladder without any spells, cards would be more viable, like the Witch beforehand. I would think that Witch would be a lot more usable because it is very hard to counter the Witch without a spell. Witch without Fireball Log would just be a lot harder to counter, so they gave it healing, right, in the evolution, right? Without all these spells, the meta might be better. So I feel like spells are just, they're not reactive, they're proactive to the meta. Spells are the reason why the meta is the way it is. That's why certain cards can't thrive and certain cards aren't overpowered. Just to move on, buildings aren't as powerful as spells. Buildings in the game are more so defensive, and spells like kill the potential of certain cards. Buildings don't really do that much besides the Evo Cannon, of course. We have the Bomb Tower that doesn't full counters probably Pigs, right? Rolling Pigs and Elixir Golem, but those are the two things it really counters in the meta. Like mostly buildings aren't really that prevalent unless you're like certain buildings. Let me pull them all up. Okay, we have Barbarian in F tier, Eye Tower in C tier, Elixir Pump in C tier, and then Expo in B tier, right? Either your building's a win condition, like Expo Mortar, right? You have two buildings that are win conditions. These buildings aren't really the best. They're not already the worst. It's just that you have to depend on the building. If you have defensive buildings like the Goblin Hut, or the Eye Tower or the Bomb Tower. All three of these are more so defensive, right? They don't really give counter push. Bomb Tower and Inferno Tower don't give counter push, and Goblin Hut gives a counter push. Elixir Collector is more so a special card, as that it gives elixir to the player that gives it, but it's a commitment, right? So it's more so defensive, so you can play offensive. And then the two spawner buildings that were in the original 42 don't really have a place in the meta. Okay? Simply put. You can, like as a troll deck right now, Tombstone can be put on the bridge, and then you can put Witch on the other side, Evolved Witch on the other side, and then it's just like so hard to kill, but that's not really meta. Then you have the Barbarian Hut. Two sustainable dispels, like I talk about the Fireball. There, just kills the Barbarian Hut. It's not really good on defense. The Earthquake kills it. The Evo Cannon, all these spells at the top. Like basically almost every card in S to B tier can probably take out the Barbarian Hut with a little bit of support. That's sad. A Barbarian Hut rework again. Don't make it 5 elixir. You need to make it more like tanky and like more like the Goblin Hut. That's what I'm saying, but I feel like Supercell might cook after the Goblin Hut rework. Just depends, you know. Fall of the Wizards going in D tier. It's one of the evolutions that's just gotten worse over time, since there's not as many Eva. There wasn't many Evos in the game beforehand, but since there's so many now, the Wizard's evolution doesn't change as much to the regular Wizard. It was good at the time. It made the Wizard actually meta for once, but since the Wizard's evolution doesn't do as much as the Witch evolution, the P.E.K.K.A evolution for the card, it doesn't heal the card, rather it just protects the card. It doesn't make it as good or fillable into decks. Giants going in A tier, pretty good win condition. The last rare card I'm ranking today, but Giant Graveyard, Giant Double Prince. It's a meta driver in certain situations if it gets a buff every once in a while, and the Giant, it just holds itself together. It's good in the meta right now. It's good overall. It's good for 5 elixir, and most 5 elixir cards are either clunky or are very good. So right now the Giant is very good. Mirror F tier, another one of the F tier cards. Since the beginning of the game, it's been one of the hardest cards to fit in the meta because they have refused to rework it. If they make it so the mirror is, per se, able to mirror card, same elixir, same level, I think it would be viable, but too viable, you know? It's like, since it's so versatile, you can just have a mirror, and then a mirror, Ice Spirit, or a mirror and skeletons, and then you can use that in 2.6, or you can use it in log bait, so you can go, right, you do a Goblin Barrel, and then they log it, and then you can do another Goblin Barrel that is the same elixir cost, and then you get the damage, right? So either it becomes too viable if you buff it, like when they did the 2 levels plus, and the double Electro Giant became the meta, or it's just not viable in any situation. I know Gratz has came up with the idea of making it 1 minus level, same elixir cost, but that's also another rework. I'm thinking they might rework the card since they reworked the Goblin Hut, and they're thinking about all the buildings, so I think Mirror is an ideal card that they should rework right now out of the original 42, and the Barbarian Hut, and the Minion Horde, all in F tier. Rage, another one of the spells at the top, not an S tier spell anymore. It's just that it gives a nice ability, but since it's a spell, it's so high on the tier list. Skarmy, another F tier card. If you put a swarm, more of one card, you see the minions in C tier and the evolved skeletons in A tier. You see more of one card doesn't do anything because it's so sustainable to the spells at the top. Minion Horde in F tier and Skeleton Army in F tier because they're so sustainable. Moving on. Evolved Goblin Barrel. Another one of the spells, but I'm putting it in B tier because it's more of a win condition and it isn't as versatile anymore, but it is good in log bait. It used to be good in Royal Recruits, but ever since they nerfed it, not really bad, not really good. Okay, sustainable. I don't think it needed an evolution because it worked already good in bait. It's good now. It changes the bait style, so more so it's a split lane pressure deck with wall breakers, but I'm not really mad about that. interesting to see that change in the deck, right? Baby Dragon, I also put it in D tier. It's just hard for it to fit. I think that it fits in Golem decks every once in a while, to what I know, but Baby Dragon is sustainable. The spells, it is weak on its own. It has small splash radius, right? It's like the mini P.E.K.K.A. where to make it better, it probably needs an evolution. D tier cards need an evolution, or it's the Wizard. Because Wizard has gone back to where it's started. Give the Evolved Wizard a buff, and then give the Mini P.E.K.K.A. and Baby Dragon evolutions, simply put. Freeze I'm putting in right now. I'm putting in C tier because Lumberloon Freeze is doing well. Graveyard Freeze is doing well. But overall, the card is an interesting card to work with. It isn't bad, but it shouldn't be good, per se. It's like the mirror. If you have a freeze meta, it would be very toxic as it just provokes for playing, overcommitting, and then freezing, so then your overcommitment doesn't really matter at overtime. And that's not really fun because there's not really as much counter to it, per se, right? The monk gave counter to spells, even though it's pretty rare, but the freeze is one of the spells that it doesn't really counter. So it's just hard to work with the freeze. Prince is an A tier, no, S tier. Just nerf it, please. It doesn't need an evolution. It just needs a nerf. Like all these spells, like maybe some of the A tier cards, but overall, Prince does not need an evolution. Also, note on the skeleton. Very good as a cycle card, but also the evolution is not bad, but it's good enough to where in a deck where there's not any evolutions, you would use the evolved skeletons. Like in certain evolutions case, evolved drill, right? If you don't have any evolutions in the deck, you don't want to use evolved drill because it's not really good. Evolved witch, fix the witch, but not really in a good way. As I stated, it's right behind the Valk Ultimate Champion with 12%. So that doesn't really make it a healthy card, but it made it viable in the meta again. I feel like either nerfing the amount of healing each skeleton does, or just making it so only the witch's skeletons heals it, will probably bump it down to B and C tier, only usable in graveyard. But overall, I'm glad they gave a witch evolution, so it's now viable in the meta. Balloon is going in A tier, very good. It has its own cycle archetype. It works in Lumberloon. It works in Giant Balloon sometimes, Mire Balloon sometimes, Lava Loon sometimes, right? Balloon is very good. It's just susceptible to buildings, right? That's why buildings are just counters to win conditions and spells are counters to support troops. Giant Skeleton. I gotta state this now. Giant Skeleton is my favorite card. Don't rework it, swear it's 5 elixir. Why would you make the Giant Skeleton 5 elixir per se? To make it less clunky. But that doesn't help the Giant Skeleton's case because it's just clunky overall. That's the reason the card is, right? They should give it an evolution, but I don't want the bomb to drop halfway through. It's just like the uniqueness of the Giant Skeleton. I feel it can work. It's just that people don't know how to use it, okay? How will you use it? In my case, I think it works in Siege. I use Giant Skeleton in Mortar Bait Siege, okay? Okay? You might be like, why is there too many tanks in the deck? Defense, offense, right? You get a mortar, right? You can go offensive mortar, and then you might be able to put a Giant Skeleton if it connects. If it doesn't connect, you might be able to put a Knight instead, as it is cheaper. Also, on defense, you can use the Knight just to defend stuff that you don't need to, like, overcommit on the Giant Skeleton. Also, the Giant Skeleton works because it helps it in double and triple elixir. So, overall, I think the Giant Skeleton should just get a buff to its Death Bomb Crown Tower, right? You make it 1,500 damage at equal level at 11, and it becomes like 2,000 at level 15. Perfect. Makes it more usable as it increases its chance as a secondary win condition. It should be used as a secondary win condition, not a win condition, but the deck should be swayed toward the Giant Skeleton like Siege, right? It doesn't connect all the time. That's the thing. That's the thing that ticks some people off. But just with the evolution, either halfway it just starts no. I think that they should make it so it's a quarter way, has a quarter way of the health left, and then it just starts walking straight to the tower. It makes it so it's more offensive, and if you place it on defense, it starts walking away, then the troops come to your tower, and then the bomb just doesn't blow up on the troops. If it's on offense, it has a quarter health, it goes towards the tower, and then the troops go away from the bomb, but it connects to the tower. That's how an evolution of a giant skeleton will work, and that's what I personally want them to do. I don't want them to change it to 5 elixir, make it clunky, make the bomb drop halfway through its health. It just not what the card needs, and it will ruin the state of what the card is. Simply put it, just like give it evolution. Don't make it broken. Don't make it overpowered. P.E.K.K.A. C tier. Not really as good anymore. They nerfed the regular P.E.K.K.A, so the regular P.E.K.K.A is kind of dead. The evolved P.E.K.K.A ain't bad, but you don't really see it as much anymore. They gave a buff to it recently. Not bad. Overall, it is a decent one of the C tier evolutions, as Bomber and P.E.K.K.A aren't really broken in the meta, but they're usable. And then Golem, as some people say, it's a C tier win condition. It's not bad, it's not good, but it synergizes some win conditions, doesn't synergize with most. The Evolve Electro Dragon isn't that good in the meta, and the Evolve Lumberjack, so it's really overall in C tier. So, my overall consensus of this list, S tier, nerfs. Nerfs to all cards or cards that these cards counter, per se. So, Evolve Cannon counters like Firecracker minions and stuff. Make it so it doesn't do air damage or doesn't like kill Firecracker, or makes it less sustainable to those cards, or give it like an HP nerf of the regular cannon. For the spells, I think they should just either do another crown time reduction nerf or just make it 0. Just get that done and over with, and then like Prince and Witch, just nerf them. Personally, I'm not mid-ladder menace. I just don't think that these cards are healthy right now. The A tier cards, the B tier cards, and the C tier cards don't really need any working. They just are in the meta. I'm glad in the state they are. D tier cards, Mini P.E.K.K.A, Baby Dragon, Giant Skeleton need evolutions. The Wizard needs a buff. F tier, rework these cards. Don't give them evolutions, as that they don't work if you give them overpowered stuff, right? If these cards were overpowered, they are just overpowered. They don't really change the state of the card. They need to be a little bit different, so they should rework the 4 cards at the bottom. So overall, the tier list of OG cards is more lopsided towards the top, as the OG 42 cards were more so balanced, and then you have a certain group of 8 cards at the bottom. Besides that, thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more tier lists, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.